Where do you think the real bottleneck lies? Is it in tech or people's side of transformation?
See, the biggest thing is technology is always evolving at a rapid pace. So I always believe that readiness of people and organization is key for driving that success. The organizational culture will play a big role in their readiness of data and AI culture. And the second part of it, constantly upskilling people and making that messaging around the organization.
Welcome to Discover Dialogues Podcast, powered by Tech Dogs. The world of business and technology is evolving at breakneck speed. AI breakthroughs, digital transformation, and game-changing innovations are reshaping industries every day. On this show, we dive into the trends, ideas, and strategies driving the future. We're sitting down with industry leaders, innovators, and disruptors to bring you fresh insights, bold perspectives, and real conversations that matter. So plug in, tune in, and let's discover what's next.
Today on the show, we're joined by Vivek Kompella, Director of Enterprise Data and AI at Informatica, a leader who has spent nearly 2 decades turning data into a competitive advantage. From building semantic data models and customer 360 platforms to modernizing cloud infrastructure and scaling global data teams, Vivek has consistently shaped how cross-functional teams adopt AI with clarity, governance, and business alignment. In this episode, Vivek dives deep into the role of business alignment, data governance, and leadership in scaling AI beyond pilot projects to achieve measurable outcomes. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of Tech Docs Discover Dialogues. Vivek, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Pleasure is mine, Nikhil. Thanks for inviting me to this call and giving me this opportunity.
That's really nice. Vivek, before we get into the revolutions that generative AI and the digital transformations that are happening at enterprise scale, right? I want to rewind the journey, the clock a little, so that you can walk our audience through the professional journey that you have been through, because I can see that you from your engineering background at Capgemini, right, to Informatica right now, that would have been a lot of pivots that you have been doing in this entire journey. So can you please unpack that journey a little for our audience?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in the southern part of India. As a kid, I always wanted to do electrical engineering. And this affinity towards electrical engineering has become because of the keen influence from an uncle. So as I completed school, I picked up electrical engineering for my bachelor's. And after bachelor's, I did master's. Again, it was electrical engineering in master's. During my second year of master's, I had an opportunity to do an internship at a very reputed power research institute in Bangalore. And somehow I did not like that opportunity, and I had to move on from the field of study, which I liked the most. And when I look back into the rest of my friends, most of them landed into IT. So IT career was fascinating during those days, and I picked up an IT job. That's how I landed Capgemini. As I landed Capgemini, I joined Capgemini with no formal trainings, and Capgemini during those days was did not have the culture of recruiting freshers and training them. So right into 2 weeks of my career, I had an opportunity to connect one of my seniors and take an advice from him. So that's one of the best advice I got in my life. He just told me that, hey, Vivek, no matter what you will eventually become, what skills that you will pick up, data skills are always important. Understanding data, interpreting data is one of the must-have skills. I was very thankful for the advice, and with that, I kickstarted my career. So within no time, I did a number of certifications, trainings, courses, and to pick up and master data skills. And slowly I got absorbed into a project, and within no time, I was able to establish myself. Even though I was the junior most, people started recognizing me for my data skills, and that's how my career started. As I completed 3 years in Capgemini, I wanted to explore other opportunities outside Capgemini. Of course, I had a number of opportunities, but I picked up Informatica, and since then I'm still with Informatica. So when I joined Informatica, one of the first things I noticed is I had the opportunity to work very closely with the senior leadership team. I was handling their management information systems. So all the leadership team used to come to me to understand data with their very specific requirements. And they were very collaborative in nature. So working with them, I had to learn a lot of skills. What decisions to make with data, how to run business with data, and how to look at technical things through the lens of business. So that was a very fascinating experience I had very early on. And with that, I started understanding things from a business perspective. And slowly I started to grow from an engineer to a senior engineer to a principal engineer and a senior manager. And around 2015, I was given the opportunity to relocate to Informatica headquarters, which is based out of San Jose, Redwood City, California. And I grabbed that opportunity, and since then I'm working at the headquarters of Informatica. And as I progressed in my career, the second thing I realized is constantly upskilling myself is one of the most important things. So back in 2016 and 2017, I went back to college. I did AI courses, learned things the hard way. And ever since that, I started enjoying working in data and AI skills. So right now I'm working as a director in the enterprise data organization. And my go-to job is always how can we optimize go-to-market strategies, partnering with business users across the organization, whether they are in sales, finance, marketing, legal, HR, working with them and using best use of data and AI to improve business decision making. That has been my professional journey. Now,
I'm sorry, go on, please.
if I have to summarize my professional journey, I would say three key things. Starting into my IT career with no formal training. So that helped me a lot how to learn new skills and technology. That's one thing. Second thing is I was thankful for the advice from my seniors who helped me that data and AI skills are one of the must-have skills in the world. Third thing is working with the senior leadership team. I had the opportunity to look through technology and data from the lens of business. So those were the three key shaping lessons that I learned in my professional journey.
That's a very incredible journey, I believe, Vivek, you've been having, because it is a perfect blend of persistence, mentorship, and data-driven curiosity, right? Like how you started at Capgemini and then, went into Informatica and evolved with the business, right? And grew to a position where you are right now. And I would like to zoom in a bit to understand what you're doing currently. And, because you're leading AI innovation at Informatica, right? And there's a lot of excitement around AI adoption that is happening across the globe, right? Everybody's speaking about it. Everybody wants to be, integrate AI into their business processes, optimize their work processes, and, achieve the business goals faster than they could, without the AI era, right? And because I believe that, your team has built a generative AI center of excellence, right? Which reviews 100 plus solutions, right? So my question to you would be, what's the biggest misconceptions enterprise have when they're adopting generative AI and while they're scaling it?
Yeah, absolutely, Nikhil. That's a great question, and it's a very relevant question today. See, one of the things that I observed is every organization wants to unlock 10%, 15%, 20% productivity with AI and want to embrace AI. But the thing is, the start is always going to be very difficult. The second aspect is to transform themselves. People start with experimentation. People start picking up a lot of pilot projects. Again, these pilot projects play a key role in significantly upskilling people and getting ready with technology and AI. But a key challenge is most of these pilot projects would never get deployed into production. And there could be various reasons why this happens. Whether the solution is not ready for the business, or we have a solution ready but don't know what's the problem. And sometimes I have seen that there's no alignment on business to solve this problem at this time. The challenges are multifold. But when I look back into what are the root causes, what is the fundamental problem that organizations are running into? Of course, I have learned these things through my own experience as well. The thing is, many times People start with experimentation, but and believe that experimentation is a good way to start transformation. But the thing is, the business alignment is one of the foundational things which is most important. But organizations are missing that alignment to drive AI and AI transformation, and they end up with doing a lot of pilot projects which never get implemented. That's one thing. The second thing I see is, do we have trusted data to do AI, which is the most important aspect for the readiness of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Without trusted data, how can you run an AI practice? How can
Mm-hmm.
you make a decision making practice with AI? It's not possible. The third and most important thing is, as you continue to grow that workload, do we have the right governance and risk review process?
Mm-hmm.
Because the big part of AI is always going to be around um, legal and security reviews. Do we have the right controls? Do we have the right way to mitigate risk with AI?
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have the right governance practice is one of the most important things as we
Mm-hmm.
scale AI. So, all those three things is the key for organizations to scale. And there are many misconceptions along the way, is what I have seen.
Definitely. And when we speak about, because there's a lot of evolution that we've been seeing in the tech world, and especially when generative AI came into existence, or it became a talk of the town, right? We've seen it scaling at a tremendous level, right? So what we are expecting is, as you said, right, the proof of concept, from the proof of concept till the it gets shipped, there's a lot of process that goes into the picture, right? When you have the proof of concept, you might have thought about, this will be relevant in the next 1 year, but till the time you've shipped the technology, things might have changed. So there's a lot of speed we're seeing over here in agility. So how can businesses develop something that is future focused, while keeping the innovation and all of the privacy in place?
See, I think the key aspect I would always say is, have the business strategy aligned with
Mm-hmm.
around AI.
Mm-hmm.
Embracing AI is one of the key things where every organization wants to do, and
Mm-hmm.
have the mindset of people built in right from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. And the second thing I see is upskilling people, constantly upskilling. Today it's AI, tomorrow it could be something else. Constantly upskilling people, have that
Mm-hmm.
into their DNA, so that anytime there's a major change, whether it's AI or something else, people are ready to embrace new technology. And
Mm-hmm.
start with experimentation. There's nothing wrong in it. Without
Mm-hmm.
experimentation, how are we going to learn? So
Mm-hmm.
those are three things. But the foundational things, as I called out earlier, right? Do we have trusted data? Do we have the right practices? And the
Uh-huh.
most important thing is to launch a set of approved tools, so that
Mm-hmm.
everybody around the organization are using these approved tools
Mm-hmm.
and making those decisions and unlocking the productivity.
As you discussed, data is a foundational step to build, generative AI models that actually deliver what you expect, right? The cleaner the data, the better outputs, the better results you'll achieve, through that model that you've trained. So my next question to you is, because a lot of companies, when they speak about their data architecture, right, and they talk about data modernization, usually it gets spoken about lift and shift approach. That's what they take, right? But I believe that you are of the opinion that businesses should take semantic data models, and they should be considered as a single source of truth, right? Why do you think enterprises or organizations fail at such a foundational step?
I would use the word cloud modernization. In fact, that's a journey, that's a mindset that I myself went through when we
Mm-hmm.
went through the cloud migration.
Mm-hmm.
See, behind every technology decision, there's a lot of thought process and decision making that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The most important that is driving is, what requirements do we have at that point of time?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we make decisions in the best interest. But the thing is, we have to keep an eye, how can we scale that 5 years down the lane? So that's the mindset that has to go through into technology decisions. And the second thing is, these decisions and these requirements over a period of time significantly decay. And the quality of requirements, quality of the approach significantly changes and decays with time. So the important thing is, if you are setting up a lift and shift approach to modernize, yeah, especially something like data platforms. You're not setting the company for success. That's what I see. Because today, as people talk around, data is one of the most strategic, critical enterprise asset. And companies wants to unlock their productivity with the help of data and measuring data and scaling data and platforms and AI platforms. That's what it is. So always have a very key architecture decisions is what I would say, to understand what are the current requirements. How can we scale them 5 years down the lane? Do we have the right methodology? Do we have the right approach? So it's a key architecture decision is what I would say, which is important for most of the cloud modernization platforms. And the second part of it is semantic models. When I say the word semantic models, it sounds very a bit of legacy term, but let me tell you, it's still relevant even today. And in fact, it's more important for AI these days. See, the thing is, without trusted data, without centralized definitions, without governance, we always run into problem. Especially, I've seen in organizations that when people are measuring their KPIs, the sales teams, the finance teams, and the marketing teams look at different metrics. And sometimes they often run into, hey, what is your number versus my number? If you don't build the trust around data, you can never scale your organization for success. That's what I will learn. So always start with centralizing your definitions and build single source of truth, leverage the power of semantic models. So that's one of the key things which I have seen and I have implemented as well. The second part of it is it plays a big role in data democratization and improving data literacy across the organization. So, just to summarize my response, cloud modernization and semantic models should go hand in hand in driving the business strategy and scaling up the organization for success for both data and AI initiatives.
But Vivek, when we speak about data, right, and especially when the data is used by AI, right, are there, and the governance you said, there needs to be governance in place to ensure that only clean data gets accumulated into your databases or data sets, right? But there's a very thin line between invading users' privacy and then gathering that data, and plus the governance also, because AI is now a double-sided sword. Even cyber criminals are using it, plus good actors are also using it, right? So my question to you would be, what are the best governance practices do you think should be in place, wherein AI does not even compromise users' privacy, but organizations collect whatever data is they required to execute their.
First and foremost thing, I see that unauthorized access of data has been
Mm-hmm.
risky for all the businesses
Mm-hmm.
because of data proliferation, data leakage as one of the key problem that a lot of organizations are facing.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I see and we have done at our organization too is implementing role-based security.
Mm-hmm.
What level of access they should get to run their jobs? Of course,
Mm-hmm.
data is important, but the right level of access. What does their role demand, and how
Mm-hmm.
should we fulfill that specific requirement? That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
foundational things in giving access to data
Mm-hmm.
and true compliance. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. The second aspect is there are a lot of governance practice
Mm-hmm.
around data, which should be implemented where you can enforce policies and where can you meet your privacy needs and run data classification needs on who should get what kind of access, all those things. So club that with cloud data governance practices as well.
Definitely. So we've spoken about how data and plays an important role in AI, right? And AI is also evolving at a rapid scale, right?
Mm.
And to such an extent where sometimes people and processes might stay back while AI evolves, right? So in coming up, where do you think the real bottleneck lies, right? Is it in tech or people's side of transformation? Where does the biggest bottleneck lie?
Yeah. See, the biggest thing is, see, technology is always evolving at a rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
So I always believe that readiness of people and organization is key for driving that success.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we let's take an example. If you look back 5 years from now, the thing is, AI was a very niche skill. Only people who had PhDs, who had great understanding of algorithms, statistics,
Mm-hmm.
all those things were considered to be AI experts, and those were the people who were running AI projects. But the way technology has changed these days is AI has become more of a mainstream skill, reaching wider range of audiences and expanding to wider job roles. So I always believe that technology has been evolving at a rapid pace, just that organizations have to be ready to embrace that technology. So the key thing here is the business strategy and alignment of the leadership, and then the organizational culture will play a big role in their readiness of data and AI culture. And the second part of it, constantly upskilling people and making that messaging around the organization. It should come top down to embrace AI and incorporate AI into their day-to-day practices. It's a key decision that leaders have to make.
Definitely the leaders want expect to AI to be integrated in every aspect of the business processes, right? But there's a lot of push and the pull, or battle between employees resisting by thinking that AI will take our jobs, or no. The same discussion we were everyone was happening when the computers came into the workforce, right? And I
Yeah.
guess the same conversations have started coming up with AI coming into picture. So how do you think businesses need to tackle this friction between the workforce, that AI will replace their job? Do you think will it replace or will it enhance the workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a very popular topic of debate across
Mhm.
organizations. See, I strongly believe that AI will only augment and help
Mhm.
people benefit from that. That's what I
Mhm.
believe. See, technology always keeps changing, and our careers are too long, and technology changes at a very rapid pace, is what I see. Today it's AI, tomorrow it could be something else.
True.
So, the key thing I would say is be ready and have the mindset that you are trying to learn new things and implementing new things, and how you can use the new technology. Today it's AI, to
Mhm.
unlock your productivity and improve your prioritization, and is what I would say.
Definitely. And as you said that, like AI will augment people, right, and the workforce, right? And all of this, and we were also discussing about how AI, like, it's very difficult for proof of concepts to come into the products gets shipped out in the market, right? Or, the
Mhm.
tech gets shipped out in the market. But I believe in order to ensure that the product is shipped, or the tech is shipped, I believe that there's a or a successful transformation, AI transformation happening at an organization, right? I believe it will not happen without a strong leadership, right? And I believe it's very important to change the culture, like to shape the culture, to integrate the tools, and set the right governance in place to ensure if the business goals are achieved, right?
Hmm.
So my next question to you would be, data and AI are technical fields, but you stress about collaboration across product, finance, sales, and marketing, right? How do you build business translators in technical terms?
See, I strongly believe that everybody should work with business acumen, which is
Mhm.
important to be successful. In fact, I had an opportunity to learn this very early in my career, which helped me shape my thought process and evolve my thought process over the period of time.
Mhm.
See, as I see, I strongly encourage my engineers and my teams, including myself, of course, is to always work with that business acumen.
Mhm.
Whenever we are picking up a new project or a new request,
Mhm.
or even if it's a change management,
Mhm.
always try to understand what is driving that change,
Mhm.
what decision the business user is trying to make with that change. So that's a key and important aspect. The second thing
Mhm.
is engineers should always work with what is the impact their work is making over the organization,
Mhm.
how their work is influencing business decision making. So always have that mindset as they look into these data and AI projects, especially which are very close to measuring success of the objective, or measuring adoption of a specific initiative. So that's one thing. The second thing is, when technical teams are solving these challenges, they have to make a lot of accommodations, adjustments to meet the business objective. So their close collaboration with business users is utmost important, is what I believe. Now, the thing is, anytime we work on projects, I always look for and ask for, hey, who's the business SME? Who's the business architect? And these people play a significant role in establishing the collaboration. In fact, they are the people who bridge the gap between business and technical teams. So that's one thing I've learned. And then the second part of it is, if you have to think about this and put this into perspective, say this a close negotiation is what I would see, where technical teams and business teams, anytime they get a equal value and benefit, the deal is done. The deal here is meeting the objective, executing a specific project.
And a lot of times, it can be very difficult to get stakeholders buy-in for AI initiatives, right? And and it's more of a leadership challenge, right? How do you actually get buy-in and make a business case for for AI beyond pilot projects? What advice would you give other leaders to make achieve this?
Yeah, absolutely, Nikhil. See, the thing is, pilot projects play an important role in upskilling people, but the thing is, they never get implemented, as we talked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing is understand. See, there could be various reasons why the pilot projects are failing.
Mm-hmm.
So just understand what are the reasons, and some of the reasons could be there's no alignment, there's no real business value for that solution, or like that. There could be a number of challenges why people are stuck with the pilot projects. So I always learned, and my own experience says that always start with the business alignment. Even though it's a small idea, groom with their senior leadership team and make them part of your discussions, make them part of your decisions, so that you understand the objective and how this use case plays into their uh, state of mind. And the second aspect is always understand what are the key metrics to drive a specific use case and how these metrics are influencing their roadmap, how these metrics are influencing their objectives. That way, you can make the business use case more compelling, and you know that solving a specific use case is also a business priority. And the other thing I've seen is, while there are a number of ideas across the organization, how can you quantify those ideas? How can you pick the right use cases
Mm-hmm.
first and incorporate the prioritization into your framework of delivering AI use cases?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I've seen and I have implemented myself is people start with 2 by 2 matrix to understand what's the effort, what's the value, and with that, they can quantify those use cases. And as you classify these use cases, broadly, there are four key classifications, is what I've seen. First thing is whether that use case falls into a quick win or a strategic project. Is this a nice to have or it's a money pit? And as you quantify these use cases and classify them into these four categories, you know which ones to pick and which ones to start with, and establish a roadmap and execute these use cases.
That's so true. Because I believe that, once people, processes, and technology, right, are three very important aspects of any successful transformation, right? And once you align people, processes, and technology, I believe no one can stop you from achieving the goals that you expect. But yeah, thank you so much for, showing, like, letting our audience know about how leadership and strategy truly go hand in hand, right? But before we wrap up today, Vivek, we would like our audience to understand the person behind the professional, right? And it's time for a quick rapid fire section. Let me know whenever you're ready. It's a quick round of random questions, which you can give instinctive answers without thinking it over.
Sure, I'm ready.
So, what's your go-to comfort food after a long day?
See, cooking is one of my favorite activity,
Hmm.
and it's also my stress buster.
Okay, but what's the favorite
I
dish you'd like?
Yeah, I'll get to that. See, the
Okay.
thing is, I always love fresh, hot, and home cooked meals,
Uh-huh.
and Indian and Thai are my favorite cuisines.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
my comfort food any day is going to be homemade, hot, fresh rice, roti, dal, and sabzi.
Okay. That's really nice. A book, movie, or a show you recently enjoyed and would recommend to others?
Somehow, book reading never got to me, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
one person who never read books.
Mm-hmm.
But I read a lot of blogs and a lot of content. but I like watching movies. In fact, every weekend, I make sure I watch at least one movie to unwind myself. One of the recent movies I watched is The Intern. It's a very lightweight movie, and the story is all about how a retired executive comes back to work out of boredom. He picks a senior intern position at an organization, and then uh, how he wins hearts from the CEO to every other employee of the organization. So it's a very lightweight comedy, drama, emotional. If you haven't watched, I would strongly recommend to watch this movie.
Definitely. I've seen the trailer though, the teaser probably. But yeah, I'll put it on my watch list and I'll watch it through. If any skill you want to master outside work, what would it be?
See, right from my childhood, I always enjoyed playing a lot of sports,
Uh-huh.
and I've cherished memories of winning numerous trophies as well.
Hmm.
So my mind is these days is too much into table tennis, and one skill that I want to master in table tennis is it's the most difficult skill in table tennis, hitting the loop. And I have seen people who hit 100 loops without missing one. So I want to master that skill.
And beach mountain, like beach vacation or a mountain getaway, what's your pick for an ideal vacation?
I would pick a beach getaway any day, and
Uh-huh.
I always want to be lazy,
Uh-huh.
sit at the beach, watch the sun, and watch the ocean waves, and absolutely do nothing. That's my preferred getaway.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Coffee
like
or
mountain getaways
uh-huh.
because I might end up hiking a lot, which is not my preferred activity, especially on a getaway.
That's
Okay.
nice. Coffee or tea? What fuels your mornings?
I love coffee. Coffee is a must have for me in the morning, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very specific and particular about my homemade coffee as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got this habit from my dad, who loves coffee and who was very specific. But yeah, that's how I love
Yeah, I
coffee.
mean, very South Indian thing to have, like filter coffee and yeah, filter coffee and dosas or idlis. That's the best breakfast that anybody can have.
Yes, you got it. Filter coffee is my preferred choice.
Uh-huh. That's really nice. So, Vivek, thank you so much for joining and having such an energizing conversation. And thank you for sharing your experiences, insights, and clear lessons on scaling AI beyond the hype, right? Before we wrap up this call today, any parting words you have for our audiences?
Yeah, first of all, is thank you for having me on this platform and giving me this opportunity, Nikhil. Thanks again. See, one thing I see is, data and AI has become a niche skills which are most important in today's world, and AI has become the buzz everywhere. Every other organization, every other person is talking about AI and
Mm-hmm.
using AI to unlock productivity. At the same time, there are fears that AI is going to replace humans, AI is going to impact a lot of jobs. Yes, in the short term, but over the long term, I don't think so. AI is always going to augment our skills. So,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I have learned and I have successfully implemented as part of my life is to constantly upskilling myself, which is important. Especially our careers are long, and the see is technology lives is a short-lived thing, is what I've learned and I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So always take some time out from your busy working day and block yourself some time so that you can upskill and learn new skills and technology, and that's the best way to survive through this journey, whether it's AI, whether it's some other technology.
That's so true. Education never stops. You need to always upskill yourself to stay relevant and, be there and do what you are expected and needed to do. So thank you so much, Vivek, for, ending at such an insightful note. It was a pleasure discussing enterprise AI and, its adoption with you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, or your favorite podcast app. Catch past episodes and more at techdogs.com. See you next time.